We will be watching history come this Friday as the NFL is going down to Brazil, and the Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles will be playing the first ever NFL game in the country of Brazil. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we're super excited that the NFL season is finally here. Ryan and I, we're going to break down the game. Before we do that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And while you're at it, leave a like and also a comment as well on who you think is going to win this game and what the final score will be. Ryan, super excited for the NFL season to finally be here, just like how we all are, and everybody tuning into this video here. It's going to be really fun, too, as well, because the Packers were – I'll say this now. Entering the playoffs, the Packers, honestly, I think were the best team going into the playoffs. I could hear an argument with the Ravens, but they were playing so well, and as they demonstrated even too against the Cowboys and then how they should have beat the 49ers, I think they were the best team. Just youth and inexperience was their downfall. Is just as we called it going into that that NFC divisional game against the Niners.
Yeah,
I think they win that game, and then they beat the snot out of Detroit. I think it was Thanksgiving week or the week after Thanksgiving.
It was a Thanksgiving game.
It was a Thanksgiving game, and that was kind of the start of that run, and they were just the hottest team. So I'm very curious to see how they end up doing here against this Philadelphia team who has made a lot of necessary adjustments, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they've been tooling up as well on the offensive side of the ball too. Going to be kind of change the guard without Jason Kelsey being there, so another leader's going to have to step up. I feel fully confident that Jalen Hurts is the guy to do that if he wasn't already one of the main locker room leaders behind Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox. But super excited for this offense now with Saquon Barkley. They even, too, very recently in the offseason just traded for Jahan Dotson. That's actually kind of freaky to think about. I think he's a great compliment to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And it's going to be a great game. Packers obviously have a lot of youth and a lot of fun to talk about as well. But I want to throw it over to you. What do you think of both of these two teams coming into this week one matchup?
Yeah, I mean, starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles, because I think it was a tale of two seasons, really. They were a veteran team that I think found their identity fairly early, and then throughout the season kind of lost it. And that, I think, led to that 1-6 run there at the end of the year. I guess 1-7 if you include the playoff loss. And they really looked bad at the end of the year. And it's so weird saying that with all of the talent that was on that roster. You look at Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, like Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata. I haven't even gotten to Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Like, it is insane the plethora of riches that they have on that team, and yet they still went 1-7 to close out the season. And I'm very curious to see if they can get that chemistry back. It seems like they have throughout the preseason and what we've kind of seen out from training camp, but I still think that's something very scary to put your stock into. And I think you go look at the Packers, and they were a young team that didn't have an identity throughout the first half of the season, and they found it in the second half, and they're carrying all this momentum and still one of the youngest teams in the NFL into week one of 2024. And they're healthier. Christian Watson is coming back. They were doing all of that without, in my opinion, their clear best wide receiver through training camp in Christian Watson. And I'm very excited to see what the Packers can put on the table or put on the field in 2024.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, too. I remember in the first half of the season, we were all bashing Matt LaFleur, just kind of this whole decision. And then from the end of the season, like, I'll probably never question that guy again, what he was able to do. These all day 2 or day 3 or undrafted or these undrafted rookies as his plethora of potential skill players and what he was able to do with these guys. And they've gotten all these guys super cheap. They've got them all for the next couple, or for most of them for the next couple of years. I think actually Josh Jacobs is like the most seasoned veteran on this team, on the squad. If you just go look at when he was drafted, of starting offensive players. I think
Elgton Jenkins and Jordan Love are 19 and 20.
I think Jacobs was 18.
No, I don't think so.
I'll have to go back and double check. While you're checking that right here, here, I think I have it right here.
He was 19.
He was 19. Okay, so he was with Elkin Jenkins then.
Yeah.
So still a very young, like just young overall squad of offensive starting players. So that's why I think it's going to be very fascinating watching as these guys even keep getting more veteran presence. I'll say it right now here. I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. So at some point within the next couple of years, just with all the talent they have, coaching, and I think they're just waiting to hit their stride. As they just get more experience here. So with all that being said, and the major prediction I just made over the next couple of years for the Packers fans, subscribe with that prediction. But let's get into just kind of what the betting markets are looking at as of right now, as we'll take a look at BetUS here. If you like to put a couple bucks down on the game, go ahead and check out the link down below, as BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for all first-time players that you're not going to miss. As of right now, they have the Eagles as the favorites going into this game here. They are 3-point favorites with the over-under set at 48.5. And I can get that. I can agree with that because of what you said earlier. Just if you just go and list off just the firepower, just the name power, the celebrity status essentially of the NFL, of all these guys that are right here with the Eagles, compared to the Packers, who, as I've mentioned, they have a lot of great day 2, day 3 undrafted rookies over the past couple of years, guys in the receiving squad overall. They have Josh Jacobs now as well. Jordan Love is now a much bigger household name, but not the same name recognition as Jalen Hurts, who really has kind of been in our lives, if you think about it, for almost the past decade, going back to his freshman year at Alabama and all the stuff he's overcome. It's hard not to really root for the guy. I really want him to be in the quarterback series next. I think it would just be fascinating just to kind of see his work ethic and just see kind of what goes on with his life. Anyways, I'll stop fanboying over Jalen Hurts. But that's what you said there. On paper, this Eagles team should be really good. And they've improved the secondary a lot. They've got rid of – it was Matt Patricia was their defensive coordinator, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was. They have Vic Fangio now, which is a big improvement.
Which makes a lot of sense why they suck so bad. But they've added on a lot of great players as well. I think they're going to come back with that feistiness. Vic Fangio, I think, is going to be a massive improvement overall. Some questions on just – it's weird saying leadership, but it's just because when you got guys like Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox who were so Philadelphia, they resembled like the Eagles. Just who's going to be that next guy? I think they're going to figure that out. I don't think there's going to be any issues with that at all. It's just a big change in the overall history of the franchise. I'm going to be very curious just on how both secondaries match up against the offensive system of the opposing team. Packers, just because then they lost some guys in the secondary as well, but you're still going to have some serious firepower in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Then they, even as I mentioned, traded for Jahan Dotson. And then there's even one other name I'm missing. That's a starting lineup right now. Oh, the name I was missing was because he's not a receiver, but he will catch a lot of passes. Saquon Barkley, now newest addition to the team. Something similar as well to kind of Derrick Henry going over to Baltimore. If this offensive line's grooving and moving, how are you going to stop this offense? Because they'll gladly hand it off to Saquon as many times as you want. You got Jalen Hurts with an RPO option as well. How are the Packers defense going to combat that? But then at the flip side, though, as we've seen with this Matt LaFleur offense and how effective they are in motion and creating space for receivers and giving Jordan Love options, is this secondary going to be improved enough to kind of manage this high-powered offense? And the more and more I keep talking, and I'll hand it over to you here in a second, the more and more that 48.5 over-under doesn't seem like it's enough.
No, yeah. That's where I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I think both of these defenses, they've had a lot of change. One thing I will say about Vic Fangio defenses, I think early in the season, they do tend to give up more points just because the scheme – everybody's kind of still figuring out their roles. It takes some time to establish. And I think like the Packers, you go look, they added Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard, Jair Alexander is still there. And they signed Keyshawn Nixon as well. And so in that secondary, so I would like to think that the Packers defense has more consistency from one season to the next. At the end, I thought they were playing pretty well. And I mean, let's just go ahead and get into our picks here. So I'm going to pick the Packers. I just think you look at what they've done from and how far they've come from last year to the end of last year. They've had a whole nother offseason. I think Christian Watson is going to be healthy coming into this year. They did a really good study with him on hamstring injuries and why they happen. And I just really like this Packers team coming into this year, and I think they're going to carry in a lot of momentum. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Detroit from 2 years ago, where they come in and they have a full head of steam going into the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick. It's going to be a fascinating game to watch. I'll go opposite just because I think with the addition now of Saquon Barkley, it's funny actually too. You can almost look at it; these teams are eerily similar as well.
Yeah.
They have a great receiving room. They just signed a free agent, a running back who has been one of the tops in the league, respectively for both those guys. And defensively as well, good front seven, questions in the secondary. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Philly is just going to have a little bit more, I think, firepower, and I think they're going to definitely want to come out and prove a point. It is an international game, so that might lean a little bit more towards the veteran experience overall.
Yeah, that's fair.
This core group of guys in general, outside losing Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, have played some time together. While for a lot of these guys, for the Packers, it's their second, third year. So still actually a lot of time still playing with one another. But still, I'm going to lean towards Philadelphia. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's something like 31-27 is going to be my prediction for Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really great matchup. I'm honestly maybe looking forward to this matchup. I don't want to say even more than the Ravens-Chiefs game, because I think that's a great matchup also. But these are the storylines. We know that the Chiefs and Ravens are going to be good. I'm really curious to see the Eagles and just how good the Packers look in week one. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this week one matchup in Brazil. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.